Hello guys, we're back in TePe Sigeman chess tournament 2026. But before we check the actual game, we need to check the title of this video. In order to improve your game, you must study the endgame before everything else. So the question for you guys is who said this famous quote, which is now written in the history of chess. You can comment in the comments down below. So let's see how much you know about the chess history. And I'm going to give you a tip. It was one of the best and strongest chess players of all time. And now we get to the actual game. Here we are in round 5. Like I said, it's Magnus Carlsen, who is after a tough loss against Jordan van Forest, he's trying to bounce back against Zhu Jiner from China, very strong grandmaster. So let's see what happened in this game. We have Magnus opened with knight to f3. We have d5 by Jiner, g3, knight jumps to f6, and we have bishop to g2. c5, striking in the center. You need to put the pawns in the center if your opponent doesn't control it. With the pawns, we have castles, g6 and d3, preparing e4 in the future. Bishop goes to g7 square, knight to d2, and knight jumps to c6, and e4. Magnus strike in the center. We have castles by 2 and rook to e1, a very nice move. We have d4, pushing the pawn, closing the center, but Magnus played e5, immediately challenging the knight. Knight jumps to d5, and now a4, securing this c4 square for d2 knight. We have h6, a very useful move, preventing any piece coming to that g5 square. We have knight jumps to c4, bishop to e6, and bishop to d2. Very nicely placed, controlling a lot of dark squares. And the first mistake in the game, knight to b6. Here, as you can see, the engine suggests queen to d7. The idea behind it is to exchange white's most powerful piece on the board. So here the position would call for queen to c1, threatening to capture on h6 square. And now not king to h7, but pushing the pawn forward to g5 square. And after challenging the g5 pawn, we would see something like, f6, a very interesting move, defending with f6 and attacking e5 pawn. And after knight jumps to h2, we would see rook from a to e8. It would be a very interesting game, but in this position, Magnus played b3. He secured his c4 knight. Knight jumps to d5. Zhu Jiner knew that this knight on b6 square is awkwardly placed, and now Magnus made a mistake with his knight. He played knight to h4. Here it was interesting that position calls for queen to c1 move. And after king goes to h7, now you play knight to h4. And let's say, for example, queen goes to d7, now you push f4. You're trying to play f5, but black has got a very nice control of that f5 square. But after knight to h4, Jiner played g5, challenging the h4 knight. Knight jumps back to f3, and queen goes to d7. h4, attacking the g5 pawn and pushing the pawn to g4. Knight jumps to h2, and now defending the pawn with h5. Queen goes to c1. Magnus is trying to exchange black's best piece. We have f6 trying to open the f file and striking the center. The threat is to capture the pawn. We have bishop to h6 by Magnus, rook to f7, a very nice move. If trade happens, the trade would be on g7 square. And here Magnus should have continued the game with e takes on f6. We would see something like e takes on f6, and after knight jumps to f1, knight from c to b4, bishop captures, and now you're not capturing with the rook, but with the king. King captures. This would be about equal. Black is slightly better, but unfortunately, here in this position, Magnus made a mistake and he played f3. And in this position, Zhu Jiner, as you can see by the clock, they are about equal. Jiner has got 16 minutes on the clock. Magnus has got 14 minutes. So Zhu Jiner played bishop to h8, which is a miss. But I'm going to show you what she should have played. She should have gone for king goes to h7. You're threatening to capture the bishop now. And after the retreat, you play for f5. And let's say, for example, rook goes to e2, you play b6, and after closing, Magnus would probably close the structure. Zhu Jiner is much better because she's controlling more space. She's got the knights, which are, I think, in this position better than the bishop, but you don't want to capture the d5 knight, because then black would get this powerful bishop on the long diagonal. But it's playable for both white and black. But here in this position, we saw e takes on f6. Sorry. First, the bishop needs to retreat. Here in this position, we saw e takes on f6, and now Jiner recapture with the bishop. And here, this was not the right way to go, but this move looks very natural. But here, the best continuation was to recapture with the pawn, and after, let's say, for example, f takes on g4, h takes on g4, and bishop captures the knight, bishop captures on d5, rook to e2, nicely defending and securing the second rank. King goes to h7, attacks the bishop, so the queen cannot move. Bishop goes back to f4, and after bishop to g7, queen goes to e1, and rook to g8. Here, as you can see, the position is about equal. Black is slightly better. Black has got a very clear plan of playing this game, so he's got a very nice defense of the 7th rank, and the rooks are nicely placed. For me, at least, I would probably choose black in this position. And let's see what happened in the game. We have Jiner played bishop takes on f6. We have f takes on g4 and h takes on g4. Magnus is trying to exchange the bishops, but Jiner declines with bishop h8. And now two mistakes by Magnus. He wanted to reroute the knight via f1 square. And we have knight jumps to c3, knight to d2. He's trying to get the knight in the game. Bishop to d5, a very nice move, trying to exchange white's best piece. And we have knight to e4. And here in this position, I really can't explain why Jiner took this knight with the bishop takes on e4. This was very interesting, but now you guys are at home and are comfortably watching the game. What would you play in this position with the black pieces to keep the advantage? I'm going to give you a couple of seconds so you can figure it out. Here you need to find the move rook to f3. And I'm going to show you why is this the best move. Here, as you can see, this pawn is free. So let's say, for example, if white wants to grab the pawn to harass the queen, we would see something like queen goes to f5. And after knight jumps back to e4, bishop captures knight. You need to recapture with the pawn. And now knight recaptures. And after, let's say, for example, you grab the rook, g takes on f3, the threat is fork, so you need to give up material. Rook takes the knight, queen takes the knight, and now you need to be very careful in this position. You need to play queen to e1, trying to exchange queens, but black would decline and play for queen to g4. And here, what's the threat? The threat is to checkmate black king, so you need to stop the threat. You need to play king to h2, and after rook to f8, black is much better. You're threatening to push the pawn, so if we go back after bishop takes on e4, Magnus recaptured with the bishop, and after rook from a to f8, Magnus attacks the f8 rook, and now a very nice move by Jiner. She played queen to c7. The threat is to capture the g3 pawn, and Magnus played queen g5 check. Magnus calculates precisely. Jiner blocked with the rook, but now bishop captures the rook. Queen captures on g3, but now bishop retreats and blocks the check. Bishop captures on g7, and king goes to h1, a very nice move, and rook to f2. You're threatening mate, so Magnus needs to stop mate. King goes to g1 and e6. This is the second last mistake. Here, the point is you need to find king to f8, and now after rook goes to f1, trying to exchange a pair of rooks, because black is putting a lot of pressure on the bishop. And after knight to e2, putting pressure on the rook, we would see something like rook captures, queen captures, and now we need to move the rook somewhere else. Let's say, for example, here, if you guys thought about trapping the queen, this is a big blunder, because I know you see it. Knight delivers check, queen is nicely covering the g1 square, the only move, and this is nice check. You cannot capture the knight because the bishop is pinned, so this would be losing. After e6, Magnus played rook to f1, knight to e2, this was all played. Rook captures, queen captures on f2, and Magnus moved the rook to a1. And now in this position, this Zhu Jiner made a blunder. She played knight to g3, which is a big blunder. Here, Magnus moved the king to h2 square, and after knight to f5, queen captures on g4, queen captures on c2, rook goes to e1, and knight jumps to d8, defending the pawn. Rook to e2 attacks the queen, and queen captures the pawn, but after bishop to e4, it was also in this position that Zhu Jiner resigned the game, because she knows she will lose a piece or she's getting checkmated. Here I'm going to show you 3 quick lines what could happen, but first the best line that Zhu Jiner had was to lose a piece. Queen g3, this is with check, so I need to move, and after the trades, Magnus is up a rook, this is completely winning. let's say, for example, another line is queen c3. Magnus would just capture the knight, and after e takes, we would see something like rook delivers check, and let's say, for example, king goes to f7 to attack the rook. Knight jumps on d6. The rook is nicely defended. This is with check. So let's say, for example, king moves. This is mate. Knight is nicely defending the queen. The queen covers all these squares. So black king is mated. And the last line is, let's say, for example, if black wants to attack the queen, we would see something like queen goes to h5. And the rook is nicely defended by the queen. The threat is queen e8 with check. And after, let's say, for example, queen goes to d1. First, you give a check. You force a a bishop move, and bishop goes to f8. You don't capture the knight, but you go after the king. Queen delivers check once again. Bishop blocks, and now you play rook to g2. You're threatening mate on g7 square, and now you need to prevent mate. So you would have to give up the piece, and after a check, you block with the rook, and now you don't have moves. You cannot capture. If you move the queen somewhere else, this is checkmate, and yeah, this is it. On move 41, Zhu Jiner resigned because she knows there is no defense, and yeah, this is it. Magnus bounces back from a tough loss against Jordan van Forest. I really hope you enjoyed in the game so far. If you haven't already, this is the time. Feel free to subscribe, hit that like button, and share this video with your friends, family members, and people who like chess. So, and we'll see you soon with the next video. I'm going to cover some more games of TePe Sigeman chess tournament. We'll see you soon, and goodbye.